Children, let us begin with the line by line explanation of the chapter. We are not afraid to die if we can all be together. Before we move on to the lesson, children, notice these words and expressions in the text. Infer their meaning from the context. Now, children, there are some new words given in the chapter. If you just look at these words, the first one, children, is honing our seafaring skills. Children, yesterday also I did explain the meaning. Now, honing means to attain perfection or to sharp the skills or to polish the skills, okay, and seafaring skills mean going to the sea. Now, when you are going on a voyage, children, or you are undertaking a sea journey, you have to know the nuances of how to travel in a ship or what to do when there is an emergency situation. So, honing means to attain perfection or to sharpen your skills when you are going to the sea. Next is ominous silence. It is signifying future trouble or disaster. Children, when there is a thunderstorm or when there is incessant rain that is about to take place, heavy rainfall that is about to take place, before that there is a silence that engulfs the whole area, isn't it? It becomes dark, it becomes gloomy, there is pin drop silence, not even a leaf is moving. It is like a silence which is indicating some future disaster, so some future trouble. So, it is a silence that is signifying a future trouble or disaster. Mayday calls, these are the warning calls made. It will get clear, children, when we read it in the chapter. Pinpricks in the vast ocean. Now, the islands which we can see while traveling in the sea, they appear to be like pinpricks in the vast ocean. Okay? Pinpricks means what? From a distance, when we take a look or when our eyes fall on them, they appear to be like spots on the vast ocean. A tousled head. Tousled over here means to disarrange, especially the hair, children. Now, because it was a strong wind that was blowing, the hair became untidy or it got disarranged. So, tousled head usually refers to the hair that gets strewn and gets over the face or gets disarranged. Let's move on to the chapter, children. Please keep a pencil handy. In July 1976, my wife Mary, son Jonathan 6, daughter Susan 7, and I set sail from Plymouth, England to duplicate the round the world voyage made 200 years earlier by Captain James Cook. Children, I told you this is a first person account of an adventurous ordeal. Now, they were going for an adventure. The whole family was going for this adventure, but the holiday turns into a nightmare. It's a first person account, and hence notice the use of the personal pronouns. The author says, my wife Mary, son Jonathan 6, please underline the family members, and daughter Susan 7, and I, the use of pronoun I, set sail from Plymouth, England to duplicate the round the world voyage. Duplicate means to repeat exactly the same. The journey that was undertaken by Captain James Cook 200 years back. So, he wanted to repeat that same journey. For the longest time, Mary and I, a 37-year-old businessman, had dreamt of sailing in the wake of the famous explorer, and for the past 16 years, we had spent all our leisure time honing our seafaring skills in British waters. Now children, they had been trying to realize this dream, they had been trying to fulfill this dream, this wish for the longest time. And it was the dream of the narrator, who was a 37-year-old businessman, and his wife Mary. They had dreamt of sailing in the wake means over here after the famous explorer, and for the past 16 years they had spent all the leisure time means children their free time, honing, sharpening their skills as they were getting ready to go to the sea. And where were they sharpening their skills? Where they were attaining the perfection? In British waters. Our boat Wave Walker, a 23-meter, please underline, this is the physical description of the boat. Our boat Wave Walker, a 23-meter, 30-ton wooden hulled. Children, please underline, wooden hulled means the frame or body of the ship. So, the hulled over here is the frame or the body of the ship. Beauty. So, see how are they describing it? Wooden hulled Beauty had been professionally built, and we had spent months fitting it out and testing it in the roughest weathers we could find. So, what is the author saying? That a lot of time had gone into the preparation of this voyage, and for this we had specially built this ship, okay, which was 23 meters and 30-ton wooden frame. It had a wooden frame body, and they had named it Wave Walker. You know, with pride, Wave Walker, the name is symbolic over here, which means that with pride it could walk on the wave, facing the waves, and had spent months fitting it out and testing it in the roughest weather we could find. They used to take the ship in the roughest weather and test it to see whether it could endure the rough weather conditions. The first peg of our planned 3-year 1,05,000 kilometer journey passed pleasantly as we sailed down the west coast of Africa to Cape Town. See children, this is all situational. Please underline. So, the first leg over here means part of a planned 3-year. Now, this was not a journey that was to end in maybe 5 to 6 days, but it was planned, a 3-year long journey, and their first part of the planned journey, which covered a distance of around 1,05,000 kilometers, it passed away very pleasantly. And where did they sail? They sailed down the west coast of Africa to Cape Town. Please keep underlining, this is the first leg that has been described. There, before heading east, he took on 2 crewmen. Now, to give them, they could require the help of 2 professionals. So, 2 sailors, crewmen means 2 sailors, joined them. One was American Larry Vigil, and the other was a Swiss Herb Siegler, to help us tackle one of the roughest seas of the world, the southern Indian Ocean. Now children, though they had been, the husband and the wife, they had been practicing, they had been taking lessons on how to face the rough weather conditions. But you know, some parts, the sea is very unpredictable children. You never know when the situations become worse, and sometimes it could be a smooth sailing too. Now he did not take a risk, the author did not take a risk. He was joined by 2 sailors so that they could tackle the roughest southern Indian Ocean. Let's move on to the next page. Our second day out of Cape Town, we began to encounter strong gales. Now, the second day children out of Cape Town, they had gone out of Cape Town, another place, we began to encounter strong gales. Now, the moment on the second day when they were out of Cape Town, they started experiencing the strong winds. For the next few days, these strong winds, they blew continuously. Gales did not worry me, but the size of the waves was alarming, up to 15 meters as high as our mast. Now, the author is saying that I did not worry about these strong winds, but along with the winds, there were these strong and high waves, which was quite alarming. And they were as high as 15 meters, as high as our main mast. Children, mast over here is, the canvas that is fastened to the pole. And when the wind pushes across this canvas, the ship or the boat, it moves forward. So, this is what the mast is. Now, the mast was 15 meters high and the waves were as high as the mast. Next date has been given as December 25th. Found us 3,500 kilometers east of Cape Town. Despite atrocious weather, we had a wonderful holiday complete with the Christmas tree. Now, December 25th, Christmas Eve. Now, they were 3,500 kilometers east of Cape Town. Okay. Though the weather was very atrocious, means very cruel or very wicked, they had a wonderful time and they were enjoying their sea holiday. And how did they make it complete? With a Christmas tree. Of course, 25th December, time of Christmas. And New Day saw no improvement in the weather. Now, from 25th, it became 31st night and then 1st, but nothing changed. The condition remained the same. But we reasoned that it had to change soon, and it did change for the worst. But they could make out that though the weather conditions are very unpredictable, this situation shall not prevail for long. And it did happen. It did change, but then it changed for the worse. What happened next? Let's read. At dawn on January 2, the waves were gigantic, huge, more fearful, frightening. Okay, they were gigantic. The word used here to describe is gigantic. We were sailing with only a small storm jib. Children, jib is a sail which is raised, to from the former ship. The foremost portion of the ship, children, a sail is raised from the ship, from the front portion of this ship. So, a small storm jib. You can go back to that PPT also, children, and just have a clear picture of what a jib is. I will be sharing that PPT again today, wherein I have explained the parts of the ship. So, a small storm jib, and was still making 8 knots. Now, 8 knots over here, it's a measurement of speed at sea, children. Like we have kilometers per hour on the road, it is at sea, knots. As the ship rose to the top of each wave, we could see endless enormous seas rolling towards us. Now, because the waves were huge, gigantic, the ship was like on a roller coaster ride, children, going up and down with the waves. You can just imagine how it was. Watch the videos if you have not. Everything has been explained. Exactly, what is being said over here. You can watch everything in those 2 videos so that you can get a better understanding of what you are reading and of the situation. Enormous sea rolling, and what could they see? Sea all around them. And the screaming of the wind, please underline sea, children, it's written screaming of the wind, personification, and spray was painful to the ears. I have explained to you personification, see how it has been used, and the screaming of the wind. Of course, winds do not scream, they don't have a mouth that they will scream, they don't have feelings or emotions of pain that they will scream. Hence, human quality is attributed, personification. So, in day-to-day conversation also, children, we use personification. And the screaming of the wind and spray was painful to the ears. So, the sound, the waves that were making the sound, it was quite frightening and it was a pain to the ears. To slow the boat down, we dropped the storm jib and lashed a heavy mooring rope in a loop across the stern. Now, just to slow down the boat, of course, there wasn't any control on its movement, right? Even the wheels could not be controlled because now all the crew members, they were at a war with nature, with these powerful waves. So, to slow down the boat, what did they do? They dropped the storm jib. So, they dropped that sail that they had raised. And why did they raise that sail? Of course, to lower down the speed of the boat. Boat. Then we double lashed everything. They fastened. And lashed a heavy mooring. Children, mooring means to fasten the ship, to tie it up. They tried a rope, and with the help of the rope, they tried to reduce the speed of the boat. Then we double lashed everything, went through our life raft drill, attached lifelines, donned oilskins and life jackets and waited. And finally, they were all getting ready to make the emergency arrangements. And what were those emergency arrangements? They had double lashed everything, tied everything, double lashed everything, went through the life raft drill, means how can they jump on the lifeboat, attached lifelines. What are lifelines? They fastened lifelines and they tied themselves lightly so that when they will lower themselves so that they could easily lower themselves in the lifeboats. And donned oilskins. Donned means to put on the oilskins. And why oilskins? Because the sea water is very salty. So, in order to protect their skin, they had to don oilskins and life jackets. Life jackets to keep themselves afloat, and then waited. The first indication of impending disaster came at about 6 p.m. with an ominous silence. Now then what happened? An impending disaster. Impending means a lingering disaster which was about to happen. The indication came at about 6 p.m. and what was the hint? What was the indication? What pointed out that there was a disaster that was about to take place? There was pin drop silence. The wind dropped and the sky immediately grew dark. Please keep underlining. Then came a growing roar and an enormous cloud towered aft of the ship. Then what happened? Then came a growing roar. Of course, the sound of the waves, and an enormous cloud towered aft of the ship. Aft means towards. Now that enormous cloud was actually a huge wave. With horror, I realized that it was not a cloud but a wave like no other. So it was a huge wave that was coming towards them. And the author realized that this is something very dangerous. It appeared perfectly vertical and almost twice the height of the other waves. So can you imagine? Higher than 15 meters, which had the potential to completely engulf and overturn their ship. It appeared perfectly vertical and almost twice the height of the other waves, with a frightful breaking crest. Beta, crest means the top of a slope or wave. The top portion of the wave, the moment it would fall on their ship, it would have got overturned. Okay, so this, the author was already aware of that this wave has the potential to overturn the boat and overturn our ship, and we would all perish. He was afraid of his future. He was afraid of the impending danger. Okay children, I shall stop the explanation here. I have given you the meanings of the new words. Please write down these words in your notebook. And those who have not watched the videos, the clippings that I have shared, please do so. Thank you class.